By a vote of 4-3 to 3, Tori Hanzo has won the inaugural Viewers' Choice vote. So yes, it was a very, very close race. I definitely didn't expect such close vote. Thanks to everyone who has commented in my video. And so with that, I will proceed to make a deck based on Tori Hanzo. So I'm doing this live on the spot. So first, of course, I will want to build it in Jinteki. The other choice is HP because HP is the other source of brain damage. But I think Jinteki would be better for this. We can always change the ID later. Now, what are the limitations of Tori Hanzo? Tori Hanzo deals 1 brain damage and then she dies. That's it. Why do I say she dies? It's because when the runner runs through the Tori Hanzo server, chances are, if they are running, they will be able to get through entirely to the server and access cards. When the runner accesses cards, they will conveniently trash Tori Hanzo while they are doing so. So basically, in most decks, Tori Hanzo is basically install the upgrade and pay 5 credits just to convert 1 net damage into 1 brain damage. This is very inefficient. Okay, yes, Tori Hanzo does cost 4 influence, so it would be a pretty bad idea to splash her outside of faction. So Jinteki is pretty much a must. Which Jinteki ID will I use? I'm not sure yet. I'm just using the core set Jinteki as a placeholder. Can always change that later. So 5 credits for 1 brain damage is a no-go. If you want to build around Tori Hanzo, you must make a single Tori Hanzo trigger multiple times. So you want to end the run as aggressively as possible so that if she stays alive, she becomes 7 credits for 2 brain damage, 9 credits for 3 brain damage, and so on. It becomes more worth it. So the best way to end the run, no, Jinteki is not very good at ending the run. The best way to end the run is, of course, with Caprice Nisei. Quite luck-based, but is pretty good in ending the run 2/3 of the time. Why not? And since we are using Caprice Nisei mechanics, we might as well throw in some Nisei agendas. Every time you score a single Nisei, it means that you can do 1 more brain damage on the runner, because every time they get through the server, you end the run, Tori Hanzo stays safe, and you have already dealt 1 brain damage to the runner. Speaking of brain damage, it's not that easy. To deal that brain damage, you first need to deal net damage before converting it into brain damage. How are you going to deal that net damage? Well, there are a couple of ways. Most people use data mine, but maybe let's try something more reliable. Data mine is vulnerable to AI breakers and is only a 1-use ice. It's not too good. So first, of course, get the hedge fund out of the way. This is a must. The most reliable way of dealing net damage during a run, and you only need to deal 1 net damage per run, is House of Knives. The best thing about House of Knives is that it cannot be denied by the runner. Once you score it, it's there for you to use forever. So, and the best thing is, a single scored House of Knives will deal 3 brain damage as long as you can get the runner to run on your Tori Hanzo 3 times. This is pretty good. So hence House of Knives is my ideal choice for net damage source. And there's another good net damage source which mimics House of Knives. It just came out in the latest data pack. That's none other than Mamba. Pretty good piece of ice, and is even more incredible when combined with the power of Tori Hanzo. Okay, Tori Hanzo is very credit intensive. 5 credits for the first brain damage dealt. That's pretty expensive, and Mamba is also a very expensive piece of ice, so definitely want to get more money. First, Jackson is a mandatory one to protect against noise and to draw you into more economy. So economy. Celebrity Gift is decent. I would consider including it, although it does give away most of your game plan. Yeah, I could go with asset-based economy. In faction, there are 2 of them. One is Sundew. Sundew is pretty hard to protect unless I'm playing RP. So that's a point to consider in picking my ID. I could pick RP just to leverage on the power of Sundew. The other one's Mental Health Clinic, which is a no-go because you want to deal brain damage. Alright, so you might be asking me now, So what if you have House of Knives? You need to score it first. How can you ensure that you score the House of Knives? Well, it's a 3-1 agenda. That's what Biotic Labor is for. But it costs 4 influence. That's pretty steep. I want to use my influence for other stuff, particularly ice, because Jinteki is not very good in the ice department. Is there a better fast advanced mechanism that costs less influence? Sure there is. Trick of Light. So we use Trick of Light. And what better card to Trick of Light credits off than something that does brain damage? Enter Cerebral Overwriter. Ah yes, now we are talking. This is a pretty sweet combo. So you bring out a Cerebral Overwriter with advancement counters. If they run it, they take brain damage, which is cheaper to trigger than Torihanzo. If they don't run it, it's Trick of Light bait for your House of Knives. This is damned if you do, damned if you don't situation that poses a nasty dilemma for the runner, no matter what they choose. So this is the kind of thing that you want to go for. Nasty dilemmas that trap the runner. Since we are running advanceable assets, well, Mushin comes in. I'll think of it as an economy card here. It's good to land 3 brain damage tokens. That pretty much kills the runner's game. But the more important thing it does is compress your clicks. 4 clicks worth of actions into the span of 2. That's pretty good. So far I've thrown in a lot of assets, upgrades, and operations. This is not very good because that means that I have very little ice. So the ice that I pack must be very powerful. Well, that's not something that Jinteki really does provide. Since Mamba is really expensive, I'll have to go with cheaper ice. Yagura and Pup are pretty standard. I might want to reconsider Pup, but as of now, it's still a pretty good piece of taxing ice. Let's see. Yes, first let's round off our agenda suite. We have 9 agenda points so far. Let's take the best agenda in the faction. Future Perfect, it cannot be stolen easily. And by now, you probably realized I'm running a lot of side cards. 3 Future Perfects, 3 Caprice, 3 Mambas. I think that's enough to justify my ID. The underplate, Nisei, whoops, not this one. Nisei Division. Yep. So this will be my choice of ID. With that, I can actually include Snowflake. Yes. So now this is a deck that's starting to look good. 12 pieces of ice only. I could use more ice, and I still have 6 influence. So I should be spending my influence on good ice. Good ice? Did someone call for good ice? Eli comes to the rescue. Okay. Let's see. So that's 15 pieces of ice so far. 2 more deck slots. Now I might want to consider removing some of the cards here, or replacing them with better cards, because my ice suite isn't very good going into the mid to late game. And if the runner plays passively, does not run on my Torihanzo servers, the problem is I will find it very hard to win the game through 7 agenda points. That is the truth. 18 agenda points. I need 2 more. What is the best agenda? Let's take a look. 2-point agenda. NAPD is general. Oh, Philotic, of course. Yes, Philotic Entanglement. Why not? Yes, this is very good. If the runner gets a very low hand size due to all the brain damage, let's say if their hand size is 2, then a single Philotic Entanglement when they have 3 agenda scored is game. So yes, Philotic is essential, and it's 3-2, so makes it all the more better. Alright. Yes, I definitely need to make space for more ice, probably, and something to use my influence on. That's pretty hard. Most of my essential influence has been spent. These are the essential cards to my strategy. I definitely need more money. Nisei Division is essentially a money card, but I don't think this is enough to res my expensive ice and trigger Torihanzo and play lots of side games. You need lots of money to do that. Let's see, what's the best way of achieving this? Still probably going to be operation-based economy. Caprice, Tori Hanzo. Yeah, Mushin no Shin only combos with Cerebral Overwriter at this point, but it's a pretty decent economy card. And it is Infection, that's the most important thing. Let's check out the 3 influence cards since I have 3 influence to spare. There's some really interesting pieces of ice here. Janus is nasty. Remember, so I think if it's not obvious by now, this deck, the goal of this deck is to score 7 agenda points, obviously, but the secondary goal is to deal 6 brain damage to kill the runner's game, or deal enough brain damage and finish them off with a Philotic. Either way, that is the game plan. And it's not too difficult to do if they decide to face plant your Cerebral Overwriter, or if you get very lucky with your Caprice Tori Hanzo games. So anything that deals more brain damage, perhaps. Sensitivity Grid is another good fast advance mechanism. I could consider that, because right now the only way of scoring agendas is through Trick of Light, and it's pretty difficult. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to Trick of Light a Nisei out because it's a 4-point agenda. That is a problem. That definitely is a valid concern. Sensen. But first, before going for Sensen, let's see if there are other brain damage sources. Victor is decent, but you need to power the trace. This deck is probably not rich enough to do so. Heimdall 2, very expensive. Yeah, let's look at brain damage cards. Edge of World, I don't have enough ice for that. It's mostly the HP faction, as you probably already know. Fenris is a decent piece of ice, but I do not want to give Red Pub. That will fuel their side games. Now, it is very, very tempting to play Cerebral Cast just to jam all the side cards and brain damage cards into the same deck. However, a well-designed deck doesn't include all sorts of janky combos, because it is very unreliable to pull such combos. And Cerebral Cast, moreover, gives the runner a lot of wiggle room, a lot of freedom, because even if they fail the side game, they can still choose to take 1 tag, and I have no way of punishing tags. The only thing I can do is to splash Scorched Earth to deter them from taking tags, and that is a complete separate strategy altogether. I don't have enough influence for that. So even though it's a side card and potentially deals brain damage, Cerebral Cast is a no-go for me. And that's it. There's no other better source of brain damage. So now I should either spend my influence on fast advance or money. Celebrity Gift. Yeah, I can keep Celebrity Gift. So Sensen then. My ice is very porous. Yeah. I'm very concerned about Yagura, especially because Yagura doesn't really force a code gate breaker out. It simply is parasitable, and it's a very juicy parasite target at that. So, is there a good code gate? Jinteki is the fraction of code gate, so surely there should be something good with infection. Now I'm just looking infection. Lotus Field. Perfect. Yes, Lotus Field. Why not? I'm not a fan of Lotus Field. I've never been from the start, but it has proven time and time again to be very effective against decks that are not well prepared for it, especially Enox. It completely hoses Enox, and Enox can be a very nasty faction to deal with, because they have all sorts of disruptive tricks and tools to disrupt my combos. So, yep, I'm putting Lotus Field there. Another option is Marker. I'm not a fan of Marker either, but it could work here. But for now, I'll just use Lotus Field. Shivo, Rainbow, yeah. Alright, so 1 Lotus Field, 2 Yaguras. You don't need... Yagura is nice to have in multiples, admittedly. Snowflake, Eli... Snowflake, Eli, Lotus Field, Yagura. I would like to run one more Yagura with ideally. Yes, this would be a nice ice composition. 16 ice. It's not a lot, but it's something I can live with. Let's see. So I need to cut a card somewhere. The agenda spread is more or less fixed. I could swap Nisei out for easier to score agenda like Brain Trust. That will have to be dealt with through playtesting. Nisei is hard to score but gives a much better benefit, whereas Brain Trust is essentially a blank 3-2 but it's easy to score. You need 3 Cerebral Overwriters. I want to see a Cerebral Overwriter early. There's a very potential combo. What you can do is, the moment you draw into a Cerebral Overwriter, you install Advance it, and leave it there. Maybe advance it some more if they don't attempt to contest it. Then, this Cerebral Overwriter serves as your Trick of Light battery, but more importantly, you can use it to protect your upgrades. Caprice Nisei, Sensen Centigrade, and of course, your Tori Hanzo. If you insert these upgrades into the same server as your Cerebral Overwriter, and they are forced to run it, they will take the brain damage, which is fantastic. So, yes, you can protect your upgrades in this deck, which is very fantastic, considering that all the upgrades except Sensen are so easy to trash. Then you have the money cards. And Trick of Light. Yeah, they're all very essential. I wouldn't like to sacrifice any of these, but I need this number of ice. Remember that some runners can compromise my archives as well, so I need to dedicate ice to all 3 centrals. The remote can be left without ice, or maybe just 1 ice there so that I don't have to res Caprice Nisei prematurely. This is a difficult choice. I could cut down on Tori Hanzo and or Caprice Nisei. You know what? I think I will cut on the Tori Hanzo. The thing is, if you draw Tori Hanzo in the first turn, she's a dead draw, and will make your hand weaker because she's easy to trash. At least Caprice can be instantly installed and res on a central server. You can't really do the same with Tori Hanzo until you get your first House of Nine squad. Hopefully by then you will have drawn into a Tori Hanzo. So, I guess this does it for my deck. Right off the bat, the 2 major weaknesses I see are lack of economy. This will be a huge problem because it's all event-based economy, so it's one-time burst. It gives me good starting power, but I will definitely languish as the game goes on. Because, yeah, there's no asset-based economy to constantly fuel my need for side games, to res cards, to use Trick of Light, etc. And of course, to res Sensen Centigrade, this one is also very expensive to use. That is a huge problem. I could swap Sensen for Archive Memories. Archive is really good to combine with Trick of Light or another money card, especially Celebrity Gifts. I think that's a better choice. Let me think about that. Yeah, Archive Memory seems to be the better choice. I don't really want to spend so many credits on the Sensen Centigrade. Yeah, Archive Memories just seems flat out better. Yep, that is something to consider. And yeah, I guess that's it. I'm not happy with the Sensen Centigrade. That is definitely a very iffy include. I really need more fast advanced tools. I can't get to 7 agenda points off only 3 Trick of Lights. Tricks of Lights, rather. And Archive Memories and a 1 influence card might be the way to go. What are the good 1 influence cards are there out there? Yeah, the other problem with my deck is small ice. All the ice is very small. It's taxing, but they're all very small. Vulnerable to parasites. And once the runner gets the rig up, they can easily stop me for good. Let's see. Successful Demonstration is actually a very good economy card. in this deck because it is turned on by Caprice Nisei. Cool. But otherwise, it doesn't really stop the runner. I mean, most of my ice doesn't stop the runner, so it will be pretty hard to pull off. Yeah, I will go for the demo instead, along with Archive Memories. The problem with doing so is that I'm splitting my influence into 2 cards, which means now I'm over the card limit once again. I'll need to cut another card. Man, I can't cut Select, Give, or Hedge Fund. Demo, Trick of Light, Motion. Probably this will. Yeah, I don't feel. I mean, it's already only a 2 off. I don't want to cut any more motions. I could cut a Caprice Nisei. No, I cannot bring myself to cut a Caprice Nisei. I can't. I just can't. One less pop. But 16 ice is already treading on eggshells, I would say. Fun, Toy Hanzo. And there just isn't enough deck space. I could run less Cerebral Overwriters. I could actually. I'll have 2 more influence, which I would eventually have to spend somehow. So, and it's my Trick of Light battery because I'm not running any advanceable ice. Yes, that's a big problem. Yeah, I just realized I'm not running any advanceable ice, so I need the 3 Cerebral Overwriters, definitely. I guess I'll have to cut 1 ice. Mamba. Yeah, I'll cut 1 Mamba. It's too expensive to upkeep. That makes my ice suite so much more vulnerable. But it has to be done. Yes, anyway, a first turn Mamba is pretty weak because it will set you back 6 credits and you still have to pay credits for the side game. So I guess Mamba is a decent 2 off. You don't want too many of them. I don't know. I really don't know. This Mamba could be good. And I'm cutting ice, which is not a good thing. I'm really running very light on ice, but I have no choice. I definitely need the money. And motion, I definitely need the money. Or I could cut one of the smaller ice. I'm looking at pup. Yeah, I think I'll cut pup. The thing is, this deck actually has a lot of small ice already. We're looking at 3 Aguras, 3 Snowflakes, 2 pups, and 3 Elis. That is a hell lot of small ice. That would definitely easily get me through the early game. In fact, I might consider switching pup out for thicker ice. Are there any thicker ice infection? Yeah, I would swap the pups out for better ice. Let's check that out. They would probably have to be sentries. I could do 2 Lotus Fields, but Lotus Field is pretty bad against what's that faction? Shaper. Yeah, Shaper has very good code gate breakers. Komainu is nice to have. Yes, Komainu is really nice to have. Let's do that. Yes, I like Komainu. Maybe just 1 off in case they run parasites. Komainu is pretty expensive to rest. And yeah, that will do. So this is my deck constructed on the fly. This is usually how I construct my decks. And of course, let's get some sample hands. Nope, that's a mulligan. Too many agendas. Alright, this is a good hand. Mandatory draw. Hedge fund. Yes, I would draw first. Hopefully I'll draw another ice. I do not. So I install the Snowflake somewhere and then hedge fund. The Snowflake will probably go on R&D unless the enemy is a criminal. In that case, I need to protect HQ. Next turn. Oof. By now, they would have ran HQ quite a bit. They might have trashed the Caprice or the House of Knights. So be prepared for that. What I'll do here is to install Jackson and draw, hopefully getting ice and installing that. So basically my early game is pretty good. I have a good amount of money. 2 hedge funds is quite lucky, but yes, that's the amount of money that this deck generates, and the ice are cheap. So hopefully this goes on until, well, yeah, that's a problem. I cannot start playing the game proper until I draw a Cerebral Overwriter, because this turns on Trick of Light, this does the brain damage, and yes, I need the Cerebral Overwriter to get things going. Probably would be nice to include an Ice Wall just so that I can have some form of advancement. That's a lot of barriers. I'm not too happy about having such an imbalanced number of barriers. But yes, this is a problem. My deck is too reliant on seeing Cerebral Overwriters. I need to make sure that my Trick of Light is turned on early. So I'll use that one influence on Ice Wall instead. It's the only advanceable ice. That is at one influence. Ice Wall or Shadow. But no, you don't want Shadow, obviously. So yes, Ice Wall will be the 4th advanceable item in my deck. So that extra deck slot will be used on money. It was supposed to be used on money. Infection money. There is that event called Medical Research Fundraising. Not a very big fan of it, but I could try. The Cerebral Static, which is very nice against noise, but I need money more. I definitely want money. Subliminal doesn't work very well in this deck. Yes, Restructure, of course. You're playing Celebrity Gift. Restructure combos very nicely into that. Okay, this is my deck. I will head off to play that. See you in a moment. Goodbye.